We're the only people in here.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Okay, it's not ready yet. All right. Just like that.
Mm-hmm.
You can see the green coming up.
Mm-hmm.
They can hear us like that.
Yeah.
Hey, Jenny, thank you for connecting me with Nicole.
Hey, Keith, good.
Yeah, she just reached out about 10 minutes ago on Facebook.
Awesome. Well, I like to send people to the right people.
Appreciate it.
You're the right people.
Yeah.
What's up, guys?
What up, lady?
Can you guys hear me?
Hey,
Yes.
hear you loud and
Hello,
clear.
hello.
Can you hear us? I can
Can
hear
you
you.
hear me?
Yes.
Okay, all right, there you are.
Yeah.
There you are. What's going down, everybody?
Another beautiful day in the neighborhood.
How's everybody doing? Another beautiful. Hi, Rick. How you doing? Hi, Rick.
Awesome. How are you doing?
Good, good. I'm hot. I just opened the oven. I'm gonna look like I'm naked here, guys, but I'm hot. I just made a quiche. So there you go. It looks like I don't have any clothes on, but I do. How's everybody doing? I'm going camping today. So I'm feeling good. I don't know if this is like camping weekend, but unfortunately I feel like everybody goes camping this weekend after the 4th of July and the weather is never really that great. So we'll have to see what's going on there. Anybody got any good news happening? Any questions as we kick off here today? I got a win. I'll share. I got a big fat closing today in Ballard, listed for $895 and sold. This is just a regular old house, not even really updated so much. Just a 2,700 or so square foot house in Ballard, listed for $895, 4 offers, and sold for $1.7 million.
Oh my God.
Crazy.
Wow.
Crazy. And then the appraiser was a little bit of a jerk and I got worried, although I'm a good broker. So I had downside on a low appraisal covered if that came up, but I got $40,000 in the bucket there just in case. If you guys know what I'm talking about. And the appraiser appraised it for $1.010 million. I couldn't believe it. So crazy stuff. Are you guys, Keith, are you guys having any low appraisals, or appraisals are all coming back good or high or on or what?
The appraisers are doing a pretty good job with regard to purchases. They're staying conservative with regard to refinances. So
You're
that's what I've
frozen.
been seeing. Yeah. I'm frozen?
There you go.
Oh.
Staying conservative with refis, did you say?
Yeah, conservative on the refis. They've got the empirical evidence of a purchase and sale contract on the purchase side, so they're more likely to bring the value in.
I am seeing that. Anybody else have any experiences in the last week or two, if we haven't talked to you, that you have a question on or need help with while we're all enjoying our Thursday here? Any news, anything? You guys are all doing well? Nobody?
No big
Janice,
things.
hi.
And Katrina may have covered this about financing, but we just sold one in Oak Harbor that came in, the appraisal came in low. And so we had to be a little bit flexible on that one.
Yeah, did you guys list that yourself?
Yeah.
Hi, Joanna, we can hear you. Yeah. Are you guys, I know as a broker, one of the things, that when I do a lot of listings, and one of the things I'm always watching out for is, in fact, on this Ballard one, which was crazy, got 4 offers, 2 in the mid 9s, and then 2 that escalated above $1 million. In fact, we had a offer higher than about $9,000 higher than the one we went with, because I always counsel my buyers or my sellers to kind of go with somebody where we have the, obviously the strongest buyer talking to their lender, and then also somebody who's willing to step up to the plate, and gap a low appraisal, just because I'm worried that with these escalating markets and this bouncing around, we never know what's going to go on. So, leaving 5 grand on the table or something like that, I think is always worth it. If you can get better terms in your offer. You know, I imagine I can't see any of you guys today. What do you guys, none of you guys took a shower today? Easy. Anybody have any questions about anything or anything like that? I'm seeing some people that I don't recognize that are with us each week. So Janice, how about we just jump over and say hi to you? What's your story, Janice? Are you a broker, investor? Are you new? Are you seasoned? Are you in the middle? You have any good jokes? And unmic yourself. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I was told you,
No?
you muted there.
I'll move on. Who else we got here?
There she is.
Oh, there you are. There you are.
It's
Hi, Janice.
everything's taken a little bit long. It's sort of lagging on the replay. So, well, my short story, I guess, is I inherited a building and managed an industrial building in Colorado for about 17 years. We sold that last year in a 1031 for 6 single families in Memphis. And it's been a little bit of a rough ride, but we're getting set up now to start investing in the Seattle area. And it's really hard to get them, to find them off market so we can sort of jump in as a beginner. But that's where we are, trying to direct.
Are you keeping your 6 single families in Memphis?
I am, yeah. I'm tied to them for at least 5 years.
Okay. Yeah, have you been introduced to the Addicted to ROI, our friend Jennifer Beatles? Have you heard of their group?
No.
Yeah, you should. That would be a really great group. You know, all of us investors here locally, we're very, you know, everybody kind of shares with everybody. So there's no, we like to all just do everything together and refer each other to each other. So I highly recommend that you check out Addicted to ROI. I think she does also a lot of, she's a local gal, Jennifer Beatles, who has a group that does a lot of out-of-state investing, and one of those is in Memphis. So she might be a great resource for you if you ever need a ground team or plugging in with help on those rentals or advice on those rentals. That's her expertise.
Okay, great. I'll look into that. Thank you. That's why I thought I'd jump on here, because it's been hard to network the last few months and get to meet new people. So I thought I'd jump in and see what you guys are all about.
Absolutely. And this is a good spot. I mean, lots of referrals and things like that coming out of here. So who else? Is anybody else new to the group? I'm looking at Susie. I don't recognize Susie's name. Susie Adams. Can you hear me?
Hi, Julie. Yes.
Hi, Susie. What's your story?
Not much. I'm big fan of yours, and I love to listen to your podcast. And I finally got a chance to join the online meeting because I'm working from home. So,
Yeah. Appreciate that. So are you hi, Susie, Keith, you guys all check the chat. You know, you guys, if you're not looking at it. No. You guys, are you a broker or an investor, or what's your discipline in real estate, Susie?
I'm a local landlord.
Okay, good.
Yeah. And I also work with Keith in the past.
Yay.
Hi, Keith.
Hi.
How are your rentals going locally here? Is everybody paying rent? Everybody's good?
Yeah. And very happy. So far, so good.
Good stuff.
And still looking to buy.
Still looking to buy? Where would you like to buy?
I might consider out of state, but I'm happy with Seattle area. So if I can find anything in my local backyard, I will do it.
Are you looking for single family or multi-family? What you looking for?
Really doesn't matter as long as the number works.
Okay. A little tough here in our neck of the woods, right?
I know.
think
Yeah.
in order to get those buy and holds out here, I think it's more like a flip to hold to make the numbers work.
Yeah.
Are you doing much refinancing on rentals, Keith? Are you seeing?
Oh, all day long.
Yeah.
All day long. And it's the time whether it's a refinance on a rental or refinance on a owner occupied, it's time to get capital. I mean,
Yeah,
cash is king.
cash is king. And if
So-
you guys aren't familiar with Flynn Family Lending, I don't know if anybody's on here, Beth or Matt or Urkel or anybody's on here. I'm looking at the list here. But we just dropped a podcast with Flynn Family Lending. And that's a really great way to get started before you refinance with somebody like Keith or Deborah or some of the other lenders on here. You know, if you own any real estate, they are the group to go to because they will do some cross collateralization that will allow you to get access to your equity that will help you get your next deal purchased. And once you get it all purchased and leased up and, you know, I guess flip to hold, we'll call it like a BRRRR, then you can talk to somebody like Keith or Deborah or some of the other, if anybody's a lender on here, speak up to get you refinanced, you know, into some longer term debt. What are rates today for rental properties, Keith, for we looking at? I mean, we know that buys are super cheap. How about rentals?
So that's a sticky wicket. So I'll just preface it this way, that it's based on loan to value, credit score, and property type, right? The more units, the higher the rate. So refinance wise, we're getting in the low threes, mid threes. Purchase wise, you're right there. If you want to get cash out, you're right there around 4%, assuming a 720 credit score. So it's cheap money.
Cheap money.
Cheap money, and do it. I'm working with a handful of clients right now, investors that are still looking to add to their portfolio. Their strategy is long-term buy hold, right? So they're willing to pay right now in the premiums because the multifamily market's super hot, just like the rest of the markets are, but multifamily is considerably hot. So
are you saying they're breaking that 1% rule and because they're going to hold long term and they think they're going to get there because they're looking for some appreciation as well?
correct.
Yeah,
Correct. And the other thing too is if you think about it in another way, that one client that I'm working with has like a 60% equity position on their owner occupied house, and I could do a cash out refinance for them at 2.99%. So all of a sudden they got some really cheap money to put down the large down payments to make multifamily pencil for them. So there's more than one way to look at the scenario. So it's pretty powerful right now.
Yeah. Well, when you say make it pencil for them, you're talking about, you mean just because they're able to lower their payment to match their rental amount so it covers itself? They just have a lot of cash in the deal for now?
Yep.
Yeah. Anybody have any questions about rentals, or is anybody buying with what we just talked about, where you're, you know, willing to pay a little bit more right now just to get properties and, you know, knowing that you're going to hold it long term? Is anybody pursuing that? Thomas, what are you up to? You're always up to something.
I'm up to no good. It's pretty slow. Haven't seen a lot of movement lately. We got a couple projects we was flipping and found some investor, but a lot of the investors I have worked with that looking for tenants are really skittish about getting new tenants in right now. So what I am looking, so two things that I've learned lately. Number one, a lot of people are saying that a lot of the tenants that are not paying right now, which in our group, I don't hear a lot of that problem, but some of the people that I know that don't have tenants paying, what they're figuring out is that in about 3-4 months, there's going to be an exodus of those tenants going to try to get out before their credit get affected. And so we're going to see a surge in people moving around. So he told me that just watch out in a couple of months when you put tenants in, make sure you do all your references, cross all the T and dot all the I.
Right.
That's number one, and it makes logical sound to me. Number two, I've met with a couple of the commercial development And I work in commercial HVAC as my daytime job. And I've seen a lot of projects being pulled out as far as retail, strip mall, restaurant, nail salon. So some of the developers are basically going to a restructuring their businesses, and they're going to make a lot of mixed use out of some of those buildings. So within the next maybe year or two, you're going to see a lot of the strip mall and a lot of the front retail stores going to be transferred over. It's going to be converted over to mixed use. I don't know how we're going to, what can we do with that to kind of capitalize on that? But that's just kind of what I see. A lot of the developers are rolling their sleeves up and getting to work.
Yeah, I think that's a zoning question though, right? I mean, in order to do any type of, are you talking about some development and construction on those sites? That's
or more like Seattle retail stores. Some of them have stores that are basically empty out, or businesses that are basically terminating the leases and pay the penalties and just get out of there. I had business that paid up $250,000 just to get out one lease.
Ooh, wow.
Because they don't want to lose $3 million within the next 2 years.
Interesting.
So, yeah, some of those spaces are not being leased out so quickly, so they're going to end it up. The landlords have to do something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
So,
I'm worried about I think that the commercial real estate is going to get hammered, right? And if anybody has a loan that is maturing, in commercial real estate, typically the loan terms, are maybe 10 years, or 3, 5, or 10 years.
Yep.
And so, when even if you have a full building in a declining rental market, if that's possible, or you're having to have, your rental collection issues or make deals with your tenants and you have to go to refinance, man, so if you're creating a list of who to talk to, commercial real estate bankers, if that's possible, make those relationships, but 2, sourcing loan data, loan maturities, as far as creating kind of a marketing campaign or a list of, who you want to call and reach out to with your marketing related to loan maturities, right? Has anybody ever done that before? I mean, I'd personally do that. I always look at loan stuff, even on residential, when I'm creating my list. So anybody?
I do that on residential. I don't do commercial, because I've learned this note I have now is a CMBS, commercial mortgage-backed security.
Yeah.
So it's a bad deal that I think that I got into for the amount of my portfolio. But I do look to loan maturity on residential when I'm looking to build a list.
Yep. Who else has anything? Anybody? Nick. Hi, Nick. Like, oh God, she called on me. Hey, Nick, this isn't classroom, guys. I'm just picking on you guys just to have.
Yeah. Hey.
What's up, Nick? What's your story?
Yeah, this is my first time joining you guys, so it's good to be here.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I've heard been recommended to this group for a few different people, and was never able to call in because I work a full-time job and it was hard to get.
Well, we love full-time jobs.
Yeah, I know.
We love full-time jobs. Those are the smart people that have full-time jobs because they can borrow the most time, right? So what's your story? What are you up to?
Yeah, I've got a few rental properties right now, one in Seattle and 2 out in Bremerton, and just got I was a lender on a note and just got that back actually today, so I'm starting to look again, picking up new properties. I'm actually working with Jenny right now out in Bremerton looking at places, so hoping to
Good stuff.
pick something up soon. Yeah.
All in the family. Well, thanks for joining us today. Anybody else? Ricks, what's going on in your world? What are you guys up to? What's next for you? For those of you that know Katrina, this is Rick, her husband and business partner.
Hey, everybody. So Katrina's still doing her thing. She's got investments and properties that are under contract sort of from Green Lake into Ballard area, and working on some stuff in Shoreline as well. I'm focusing on flips right now, just generating short-term income, and working on one in Bellingham that's been a bit of an education about how insidious water can be, how it can sneak into into all sorts of places you don't want it, and so I'm learning a lesson there, and thank goodness it's going to be an inexpensive lesson, but working on that, and you know, we just sold one, working on that one, and negotiating for my next property. So just staying super busy.
That's good. That's
Turning
good.
the crank, just turning the crank. Yeah.
If you need any resources up in Bellingham, I've got an agent on my team that also is an investor. So if you need any contractor referrals or whatever, just let us know and we'll connect you up.
Awesome. I had no idea that you had a connection up there, so I definitely would have called you.
I got connections everywhere, Rick.
I know. I so underestimate you.
There you go.
That's horrible of me.
What else is going on, guys? Anybody? We have what? Some news out. Big tax on big business coming down that just got what passed?
Yep.
Payroll.
You know, what do you think is going to happen with that? Anybody want to give us an opinion on how that's going to affect things? Is anybody primarily focused on the east side that's here? Anybody? The east side? Home prices? Who can even afford to buy homes these days? That's the question. So crazy.
Lots of people.
Yeah.
That's the beautiful thing about having Amazon and Microsoft in your backyard.
Well, that's interesting, Keith. When you're doing your deals, are you finding a common denominator with employers on who's buying or who's doing whatever?
There's always a large portion of tech buyers, but there's a full gambit of folks that are out there. I'll say this, I mean, really on the east side, it's all dual income qualifications. There's not a lot of single individuals that are out there buying on the east side. So
there you go. So if you guys want to get a date and get married, you can move to the east side. I'm just making.
Well, we're seeing a huge influx in people that are not married, not related in any way, shape, or form, doing joint tenancy and buying houses. I mean, it's 100% legal, capable, and it's a real effective way for folks that have maybe been in an apartment together that like each other, as far as being able to live with each other. Gosh, have them transition to a house. It's an awesome opportunity. You just need to make sure that we're advising them to get a tenants in common agreement. So if one dies, that they're not owning a house with their heirs. I mean,
interesting.
Make it happen.
Isn't there, what are we calling that? Co-buy?
Yeah, I mean, two non-related parties can go buy a house and owner occupy it. That happens all the time. They just have to fill out separate applications. And instead of being community property or single man, single woman, that they're coming in as joint tenants and they're taking title that way. It's awesome to help these, especially the millennials. The millennials, if they waited until they got married at the age of 36, we'd have to wait another decade. So they literally want out of their apartments right now because they're done having a COVID lifestyle in apartment complexes.
That sounds like a great marketing messages for those you guys who are needing messages to market, right? Did you realize, that's a good one. I'm going to steal that, Keith. Good. That's the tip of the day right there, is to talk about how co-buying is possible. I just don't think people think about it as much.
No, they don't at all.
Has anybody here done a co-buy? Not a joint venture on a real estate transaction, but for your primary? Has anybody done that?
I've helped finance them.
Well, here you go. That'll be our new theme here with Seattle Investors Club. We'll match you guys up for co-buys.
Right? That would be great.
Right?
It'll be like a match.com for co-buying.
Yeah.
Oh, shit. That could be awesome.
Right. Like-minded people, right?
Swipe right, swipe left. Like, oh, hell no, I'm not living with cats.
That's right. That's right. What else is going on?
Hey, Julie.
Hey, Gordon.
Hey, I've got a couple of buyers that are considering partnering on a duplex right now. and because they were going to buy single family homes, but one of them is in a under the 400,000 mark. The other one's well above in the 600s. But they're both of their priorities is to have a big garage or a barn with a workshop, because they're both big motorcyclists. So I've introduced the two of them, and it looks like they're going to go for it.
Wow. Well, you can be our
So-
case study. That's good stuff, Gordon. Right? That's
Yeah.
keep in mind that you guys might not think about all the time.
Mhm.
Who else? What else is going on with you guys? I've heard that development deals that are getting more plentiful to be picked up at better prices. Is anybody else hearing that for like I'll say like townhome or small like RSLs and things like that, or people are I've heard some of the hard money lenders are having to take back some properties. Is anybody else hearing that? Nobody? Well, we'll get somebody on here next week and we'll get the scoop on that. Because I hear that even Veristone, and Veristone's having to take back properties. That probably means that Eastside Funding is likely having to take back some properties as well, right? So it's funny because up to now, it seems like the news has been market super hot, everybody's paying their rent. But for some reason, I feel like we are on the cusp of something that might change. I don't know why. I think it has probably to do with the PPE starting, people are starting to run out, and that limbo of, well, what's next? Anybody have any news to share that they know of, or, in regards to, didn't they just have some more PPP available, or what are you calling it? There's PPP, all that stuff. That there's another tranche of funds available or still more money available. Anybody know anything about that? If you're able to go for a second round on your PPP type or EIDL type loans for businesses.
The last I heard, it was stuck in.
I don't think the money's available.
No, I think
they
it's stuck in the Senate or something.
No?
So
Who's talking? Because that's a phone number.
hey, this is Deb Starr talking. Can you hear me?
Hi, Deb. We can see you on your phone and we can see.
Yeah, I can't talk through my computer, so I turned the phone on.
Oh, good.
I'm kind of curious, like you, Julie. I'm looking at the bigger picture and long term. And like, for example, yesterday it was announced by United Airlines that they're going to lay off maybe 36,000 people.
Right.
So, at some point we're going to get to a tipping point with the economy where there's going to be more layoffs coming. I mean, if you look at what's going on with the COVID virus right now, our kids going to go back to school? It's questionable.
Yeah.
What's going to happen with commercial real estate? I think that's going to be a bust at some point. I mean, I have a really negative view on that. So, and I could be wrong, of course, but I just think that the economy hasn't really felt the effects of what we're dealing with yet. Like there's more to come.
I agree.
And I also wonder with Seattle investors in particular, which is what I am with real estate, rental properties, single family homes, with the way Seattle is handling the COVID for property housing providers, there's really no recourse for us if the tenant doesn't pay their rent. So how is it that the appetite for rentals is still there in Seattle, knowing that, you could go for 9 months or longer without getting any rent? Personally, for me, I want to get out as fast as I can, but I have tax issues I'm dealing with.
Yeah, it's a good question. Go ahead, Keith.
Let me answer that one in the best of my knowledge. Really interesting article that the Office of Financial Management posted last week, and it was sent out by the Seattle King County Realtors, that there was a net positive migration of 110,000 people to Washington State last year. 110,000 people, of which 71% ended up in King County, right? So that's where there's still an appetite and a market. And so long as we have places like Google, Apple, Amazon, and Microsoft, that migration will continue to happen. I'm a firm believer that you won't see a dip in the rental market as far as A and B properties are concerned. I think C is going to be a really, really nasty thing in the next 6 to 12 months.
But the thing about
That's a good assessment.
C's can be value add to B pluses.
Yes.
That's the deal. Like it is a great time, you know, to convert, you know, to do your value add upgrade on your C properties while you're down, you know, I guess, right? So that's where the opportunity is going to be. I think there's a lot of in-migration from California too. There's people leaving, I think, California and moving up here, and it still sounds cheap to them. And we still have a housing shortage, right?
Mm-hmm.
We have a
Mm-hmm.
housing shortage. So I agree that the Seattle market, you know, we're in a bubble over here a little
Yeah.
bit too, like, but it is, you just have to have, I think you have to plan for more reserves, and you have to plan to hold long-term. If you have, you know, double the reserves or whatever numbers makes you comfortable than you used to have, and you know that you're on a, you know, you can hold it for 10 years or something like that. I think, you know, again, because inaction also is the tough part, right? There's that balance between doing nothing and waiting. I think right now, I wouldn't, you know, waiting. I'm sitting, waiting. You know, it feels like there's going to be good deals coming because we have this lag. But it'll be. I find that interesting. We all say there's good deals coming, but are there good deals coming in Seattle? You know, I feel like, you know, that'll be the question. Are there going to be good deals in Seattle? And I had a potential Ballard development deal that I sent off to Augie. If you guys know Augustus Bukowski, sent it over to Augie yesterday. And he's like, man, I am slammed and been getting some really good, crazy deals, like good prices on good sized projects. So I think
Where's
that
he at? I know that guy. Where is August at?
he is at Bay Equity.
Bay Equity, yeah.
Okay, thanks.
But he's also a developer. So
Yeah, Julie, I want to go back to the reserve situation. You guys might all have your own analytics on what you want to reserve, but we've gotten really conservative on investment properties that you're seeing somewhere between 6 and 12 months worth of reserves as a requirement for lending for non-owner occupied properties. So it's not just for your own sake, but also for financeability. You're going to want to keep somewhere between 6 and 12 months worth of financing for each property.
Keith had a question on reserves. What qualifies as reserve? Does it have to be cash in a bank, or can it be retirement accounts or anything like that?
It can be retirement accounts. Typically, some underwriters won't allow retirement accounts. Some will, but the retirement account would be discounted down to 60% of its vested balance.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
I have a question. Has anyone heard this? In my market research, I've seen several sources say that in about 12 to 18 months, there's going to be a big glut, not maybe a big glut, but a rush of bankruptcies due to everything. Has anyone heard anything in that regard?
I'm hearing of bankruptcies already getting started. You know, I actually have a broker on my squad that is also a bankruptcy attorney, and so
or low default, even, you know, like
yeah.
REOs.
Yeah, I think it's going to happen because people are going to rack up their credit cards, also, right?
And also small retail that's not going to be able to open up their businesses if they can't open their businesses for a long time, or to the extent where they were prior. Like Brooks Brothers just announced they're filing bankruptcy. And
Right.
so you're going to see more businesses, big and small, I think, filing for bankruptcy.
And, you know, a lot of these small business owners only have a few months of reserves, which is the bad reality of this whole thing. And so it is, you know, I don't know, you know, the hard part is if, you know, when things start to go bad with values, is if people have to start, you know, selling their property cheap, and then that creates this chain reaction of hurting the comps. So then values go down. I don't know if that's going to happen here or not, or if those will all just get, we have such a strong investor community. If problems are going to get snatched up off market, or go ahead, Keith. What
Yeah,
were you saying, Keith?
the big fundamental difference between this and say like 2008 was the equity position that the majority of Americans have in their house. So hopefully, Janice, if we learned anything from 2008, is that people liquefy and just get out of the way, right? Okay, great, shit happened. I need to clear my plate, sell my house, clean my debts, and move forward. If people try to hold on, and this is kind of striking a chord with me, my dad owns a body shop in Portland, and like they're literally one more month away from closing their doors, and it makes me want to cry because he's been there for 20 years. But long story short, and this is what I told him, I said, dude, you just need to cut the cord. Shit happens and move on with your life. It's the people that prolonged the foreclosures and prolonged the bankruptcies in the last downturn that really long-term affected the economy. And if all of us as professionals and talking to our spheres go out there and say, hey, just cash in the cards and go, we'll be through this a lot quicker than if we let it lag. So that's my 2 cents.
My point, I guess, is that people are going to default on their loans. And so there might be opportunity, not to take advantage of that by any means, but there might be opportunity to help them out and help them get out quicker.
Yeah.
Yeah, without a doubt. You're going to see that. And I just hope people just go and ask for help quicker than they did in 2008.
Right.
I think we're going to see a lot of people looking at reverse mortgages as well.
That actually crossed my mind, Renee. That's interesting that you say that. It crossed my mind that some of the, although for the retired older folks, right, that are in their homes that might be, I don't know, you think of those people for reverse mortgages, but I guess anybody could, there's no income or no age limit on a reverse mortgage, right? Anybody could get one,
No.
right?
And in the short,
There's an age.
in
Yeah,
the short
65 and a
age
half.
limit.
depending
What?
on how old or young.
65 and a half.
Oh, you have to be 65 and a half to get a reverse mortgage.
Yeah.
Yep.
And Keith, what's the LTV that you have to be at in order to get one?
It's a sliding scale based on your age. So, it all depends on your age. The rule of thumb, what we tell people is literally, you could probably do about 60 to 65% leverage.
But are those the people that are actually affected? Those aren't, right?
No.
So those aren't really the people being affected by all this right now. What's the story on, you guys know, on unemployment? If you've been on unemployment for how long can you collect it? And is that $600, that extra 600 was expiring here at the end of July, isn't it?
Yes.
Right. And have you guys heard anything about that? Has anybody heard anything about the extra 600? Is that getting renewed?
They're duking it out in Congress right now.
Yeah.
The Republican side doesn't want to do it, and the Democratic side does, and they're still battling it out with other issues. We'll know before July 31st if they're going to extend it or not.
Yeah.
It feels like they have to, especially with things getting worse and going with extended round one. I won't call it round two. I'll call it extended round one, right?
Yep.
It feels like something's going to have to happen there. The question is, how long can they keep up with that stuff, right?
Yeah.
I mean, this is weird. I don't know how is propping up from our investor community, seeing some of this trickle down effect, right? I know for my own neighbor has tenants that one is like a chef in a high-end restaurant, like one of what's his name's restaurants, Ethan
Tom
Stoll.
Douglas.
Ethan Stoll's restaurants that closed for a while, but now they're back open. Websites there, the guy's pictures name is on there. And he is a tenant at my neighbor's rental down in Ballard. And then the other person in there is also some type of dessert chef or something like that. So they cut them a deal and they were letting them pay half rent. The rent's about $23.50. They were letting them pay half rent. And we were talking about it and I said, well, isn't your tenant back to work? I mean, I can see that restaurant's open and I can see that he's on there and I can see the tenants are not going to tell you when they're able to pay again. I said, you might want to check in with your tenant and say, how's it going? Are you know, what's the story? I see the restaurant's open. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Their lease is up in October. And what I said is, you should take this opportunity to get out of the October cycle so you can not have to have a lease renewal come up in winter, right? So if you can do something to extend these guys for 6 months to get into a better leasing season, so you don't get stuck with the city of Seattle winter ban and all these other things that extend not being able to evict. You guys get what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You really have to be paying attention these days on when you're structuring your lease expirations, right? Not only for dealing with all this crazy Seattle, this, or even Tacoma has these things now, or, you know, you need to almost like work, it's hard to almost manage your own properties. You got to stay on top of so much these days, but really paying attention to when, you know, this is old asset manager stuff. I spent 20 years doing this on, you know, commercial buildings and multifamily buildings. And you have to really watch when your loan maturities are to make sure that your leases aren't expiring on your properties at the same time that you're having your loans mature. Even on smaller multifamily properties, you know, if your loan matures in an October, you don't want your leases coming due in an October and maybe having some vacancy. You guys get what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Watch your loan maturities with your lease expirations on whatever the real estate is that you have, like Janice for your industrial property. You know, I don't know if you have multi-tenants or one tenant in there, but really pay attention to that. That's what true asset management is anyways, right?
Yeah, they're all single family, but and then I just changed property managers hopefully. So yeah.
Property managers suck, right? Honestly. And so they don't even think of this. They're like, let me get that off my desk. Let me just get that lease done or that maintenance order filled. The property managers do not know anything typically about when your loan maturity is. They don't think about that. That's not on their plate to deal with. So they don't think about that when it comes to leasing.
Yeah.
So there's something everybody should go think about today is, when's my loan mature? You know, and this is something that you want to set off way in advance, right? So you don't, you know, you need to think, so your loan might not be maturing for 2 or 3 years. You need to take that time to opportunistically move your lease expirations around. So you're not doing it the same year, you know, that your loan's maturing, if you guys are following me.
Yeah.
Anybody else? Hi, Cindy. Can you hear me, Cindy? Is this, hello? Just picking on people that I don't hear from, we don't talk to all the time here. Anybody
Hi.
else?
Yeah, I can hear
Hi,
you.
Cindy.
Hi, Julie. It's Cindy.
Hi, Cindy. What's your story?
Well, this is my first time joining the call. I am partners with Gus. He's usually on the calls.
I see.
Yeah.
That.
Yeah, Gus is there. So I decided to join and just, it's really great listening to the conversation. We are wholesaling in Washington State, and we were wholesaling in Dallas, Fort Worth. So I still have a toe in Texas, but trying to make it work here in Washington. It's been a really cool conversation because it, you know, makes a lot of sense. I mean, the home values are still there, and people still want to get, you know, top dollar, and the deals are, I'm finding it's hard to find the deals right now.
You know, I always think that there's like a indicator when things are going to get better for investors. And that indicator might be that there's a lag time between the time that sellers still think that they can get top dollar and what buyers are willing to pay. Right now, sellers are still in control because the evidence is there that they're still getting multiple offers and all this stuff. when things change, there's going to be a period of time where it's hard to get deals done because there's going to be this transition period where the sellers still don't believe, well, my neighbor just sold that 6 months ago for whatever, you know, and the buyers are now like, well, no, we're not paying that now. And there'll be this like transition lag time where it'll be hard. It's right now hard for buyers, right? But before it gets easier for buyers, there will be this point of where sellers don't agree with buyers, right? And then they're going to end up meeting in the middle. So it's not like, I don't think overnight we're going to be seeing some change. It's usually this, you know, this thing that happens. You guys get what I'm saying? Before things.
Summer of 2018 comes to mind.
Yes,
Yeah.
summer of 2018. Although that happened, it dropped on a dime. Boom, 10% drop immediately. As it is. So it'll be interesting with all the technology and all the information that's so available if things happen faster. But I usually find there's that the sellers just, you know, but this time it could be different because maybe there's more sense of urgency if you're getting beat up and you've been beat up since COVID started, right? You know, and all that stuff. Has anybody had a deal be affected by any COVID stuff? I had one where it was a loan and the lender in the lender's office, somebody in there got COVID, not you, Keith. It was somebody else. I was the listing agent and the buyer. I'm like, where the hell are the loan docs, man? And they're like, the lender got COVID, the actual like processor, somebody in the chain. And you know, what do you say? You say, I'm sorry, that's terrible, right? Because that's the worst thing, but that's my effect there. I've had agents now trying to throw in the offers, the force majeure, the form 22 FM. And I want to tell you guys that are all brokers out there, if you're a buyer's agent, go for it. But if you're a listing agent, just because somebody submits one doesn't mean that you have to say, oh, that, you know, I say, take it out. Why you have it, take it out. And you can get them taken out. I'm looking out for the seller in that case, right? But, you know, like I said, I just had 4 offers on one and all of them had the force majeure in there. And yet they wanted to tell me how great and qualified and overqualified their buyers are and so strong and their jobs are great. And I said, awesome, take it out, right? I'll give you an edge. And so they did, right? So you don't get what you don't ask for. In fact, the funny thing is that we took it out of the contract, but accidentally left it on the addenda line item on page 1 of the purchase and sale agreement. So when it came time to clean up my file, I'm like, oh, hey guys, we need to cross off the addenda line item, initial and date it. And instead the other agent sent me 4 days before closing the force majeure, like, oh no, we're going to submit that now. And I said, no, we're not. Cross it off the addenda line item. That's what we want to do. And they did it. I just talk tough, you know, act as if, right? Check out those muscles, baby. Yes, I am wearing clothes. I just got hot while we were getting ready to go camping, guys. So. You like my muscles, Joe? Tell me. Anyways, anything else, guys? We're getting to be about 12:20 here, and my quiche is about to be finished. So, anything? Anybody else has any questions? Cindy, aren't you up in Canada? Are you?
Yes, we are. We are virtual wholesaling from BC.
So give us a scoop, because I sure as heck want to go to Canada. When can we get up there?
Not anytime soon. I am a dual citizen, so I of course can cross into the United States, but then if I try to come home, I can't do it. They're very strict coming into Canada. They're requiring 2-week quarantine if you enter Canada from the United States right now. So there's a little loophole. We've been able to see my parents up at the Peace Arch Park only on the US side. We've actually been able to walk across a ditch in no man's land. But yeah, it's really, it's affecting a lot of people. I have a home in Point Roberts, Washington, because that's where I was born and raised, and it's just sitting there empty. you know, a home that we were fixing up and hoping to spend a lot of time there this summer. So yeah, it's pretty hard for anyone from the States right now to get into Canada. And I'm thinking that next week, I mean, the border closure was supposed to be till the 21st of July, but I think that's probably going to be extended again.
Right, right. And what's the COVID situation there in Canada? Is it?
We're doing great here. We have definitely flattened the curve. Our numbers are way down. We are, I think, in phase 4 of opening in a lot of places here in BC. I can actually take my son to get his haircut, but now he doesn't want to. But yeah, things are opening up. It's looking really positive for the fall for the kids to go back to school, but they're taking it really, really slow here. Like it's really slow. People wear their masks. People
I was
are
gonna
taking
ask, are people wearing?
yeah, people are wearing masks up here. We're taking it really seriously. And I think that's really helped us a lot.
Yeah. Well, that's good news.
Yeah.
But we sure miss going to Canada. That's
Oh,
for sure.
I miss going to see, I miss going to see my mom in Birch Bay. I miss going to my house in Point Roberts. My son, we haven't quite had play dates yet, so we're just going to start doing that now. So it's been a few months. It's hard on the kids.
Yeah.
I have a 12-year-old, and socially that's been tough.
Right.
Yeah.
I as well have 2 almost 12-year-olds. So.
Oh, and but you look so good. I only have one.
You gotta look a little bit closer. Anyways, you guys, thanks for letting us have quick chats. But anybody need anything? Anybody have a question? You know, one thing I'd like to ask you guys to do is please all make sure that you have joined our Meetup page, because that's the easiest way for us to communicate these days, as email is, nobody likes getting a bunch of emails, and it's easier to communicate through. Is that right, Joe? Joe says yes. And if you are off and doing some fun stuff this weekend, the podcast that we just dropped is a good one today. It's a redo, actually, because I have been lazy. I got burnt out. Actually, I'm gonna admit it. I'm gonna admit it to you guys. I got a little burnt out, and I took about 2 weeks off just to, and I didn't really do much. And then yesterday, I'm back in action. It doesn't help that I have a big close. It helps that I have a big closing today that I am excited about, and I'm going camping. But I took like 2 weeks off, so we're behind a little bit on our podcasts and stuff like that. And we luckily have over 100 and something podcasts. So we re-put out a very good one today with Larry and Mariska, all about lease options. And what a great time it is to learn about creative real estate financing and lease options right now before this potential opportunity wave comes at us, because boy, is it going to be important and advantageous to know about lease options, note investing, seller financing, and all that stuff. Please take the time here you will thank me later, to learn about that. And way you can start is by listening to this podcast that we dropped today with Larry and Mariska. What else? For those of you that are VIP with me on Friday at 9:30, we are doing, actually Mariska is hosting our seller financing, our first class, I would say there, which is just going to be an hour. So that's that. Anybody else got anything to add? Nothing?
I think you'll see the Freddie Mac mortgage survey next week be below 3% on the 30-year fixed.
So
Means 30-year money is going to be in the 2% range.
Crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. Last week's survey came back at 3.03%, and this week on the markets, like right now, the 30-year Treasury, the coupons are just selling for almost 5%. It's crazy right now.
Keith, Renee or anybody here, what's the correlation, if you can state one? I know we talked about, like, you know, a drop in interest rate, 1 point doesn't mean anything because it really matters what your loan size is. And we talked about that not being a good question to ask, but we talked about that last week. But what about credit score. So if there's like a drop of a point versus somebody's credit score, what is there extra buying power? Is there something that can be said about that? You get my question?
Not quite.
So I'm saying, let's say somebody has a certain credit score and
Okay.
rates go down by 1%, but your credit score stays the same. Is there any perks related to loan points or any buying power? I guess it doesn't make any sense.
Well, part of the loan level pricing adjustment, when I go to price a loan, I look at the type of house, single family, duplex, up to fourplex. I look at your credit score and I look at your loan to value, right? Those are the three, and then occupancy. Those are the four things that drive rates. The number one thing that drives an interest rate is definitely the credit score. A lot of people think it's down payment, but it's credit score. So to maybe answer this question, if you bought a house and you put little down and you had a not great credit score, like below a 680, and now you have above a 680, it would definitely behoove you to take a look at interest rates again.
Right. So those of you who had upticks in credit score, that's a good reason to refinance as well, not just because of low rates, right?
Without a doubt, for sure.
Refinancing because of low rates. We never talk about like, hey, did your credit score go up? Maybe you should refinance, right?
Yep.
We don't really position it that way. Good one. Okay. I don't have anything else today, guys. So I'm going to get me some camping on.
Go get some camping on. Have a great week.
Right on. All right, guys.
Thanks, Julie.
Have a great weekend.
Have fun.
Be
Thanks,
safe.
Julie.
Wear a mask. Oh, Rick said he's okay. Rick, we'll catch you next time. All right. See you guys.